Life Management Science Labs would like to acknowledge that we live and produce this podcast on the traditional lands of the Wurundjeri people. We'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands of our listeners and our international colleagues. We'd like to pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. Hi, and welcome to Self-Improvement Atlas, the Personal Science Insights podcast produced by LMSL, the Life Management Science Labs. We are champions of life management science, providing structured insights informed by science and inspired by practice on key aspects of conscious living. Each week, we bring you scientific and practical insights on each element with the expert knowledge of professionals in the field. I'm Stella, your host from Melbourne, Australia. Let's start the show. Welcome back to Self-Improvement Atlas, the Personal Science Insights podcast. Body image ideals have persisted throughout time, but in today's digital age, we see more regard for a wider variety of bodies. That being said, the media is more influential now than ever before and can still negatively affect our perception of body image. So today we are speaking to psychologist Krysta Kors to find out more about how media affects our body image ideals, how it ties into our personal growth, as well as how to perceive our bodies in a more positive light. Hi, Krysta. It's great to have you here.
Thank you. It's lovely to be here.
How are you going today?
I'm good.
So tell us a bit more about your background and how you got into this.
Yeah, so I am a psychologist now. I did start as a counsellor, which is similar, but just requires more training to be registered as a psychologist. And I used to do a lot of work with youth services and schools, but now I'm in private practice and working at a medical clinic.
And is struggles with body image something that you see very often in teenagers?
Yeah, definitely. I would say not just teenagers, but everybody. It's not always the reason why people are coming to see me, but it's often playing a role in terms of other things like self-esteem or just confidence, that sort of thing.
Yeah, we'll dive more into that later. But before we get started, we'd like to get to know you better. This is Have You Met Krysta Kors? So tell us what your favorite book is.
It's hard to pick a favorite. I so often am reading psychology books, to be honest, trauma and grief, and my family likes to tease me about those are the things that I choose to read. But I do love a good fiction book, probably Leanne Moriarty. She wrote Big Little Lies, all of those. I love them. I've read them all twice. So, yeah.
What kind of fiction would you say is your favorite?
Yeah, anything that's character-based. So I'm not really into history or sci-fi or anything, but relationships and probably, why people get along, all that stuff.
That does seem like very in line with what you do
I know,
as well.
it's kind of psychology-ish, isn't it?
Yeah, but fair enough.
Right.
Those actually, I think, were the kinds of books that drew me in as a teenager as well.
Yeah.
So I totally get it because it's like also there's this relatability thing, right? That aspect of it.
Right.
So yeah, I totally get it. Do you have a favorite film?
Again, it's hard to pick one. I have seen the movie Coda. Have you? I don't know if you've heard of that.
No, what is it?
So it stands for Child of Deaf Adults. It won a bunch of awards. It's about a girl and she's the only hearing person in her family. So both parents and I think her brother maybe are all deaf. It's just really well done. Yeah, love it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I first heard deaf adults,
deaf.
and I was like,
no.
I was like,
that would be
we're getting darker.
Yeah, no, deaf. Yeah, much more interesting,
Right.
Less dark.
Cool. Yeah. So, do you have a favorite podcast?
There's one called have you heard of the Resilience Project?
No.
Yeah, so there's two guys that do that, and they have a podcast called The Imperfects, and it's really easygoing. They're Aussie guys. They're just kind of chatting about everyday things, but they interview people sometimes and they have lots of just great, relatable topics.
I love that. A lot of the podcasts that I listen to, they don't necessarily have to be about a topic that's super exciting, but
Yeah.
the people who present it really make the show work.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you have a famous role model?
I do love Brené Brown. Have you heard of her?
I think actually there was a guest previously who
Yeah.
did mention her as their famous role model.
Yeah, so she's American. She's a social worker. She's a researcher. She's done TED Talks. I think her TED Talks are maybe in the top most viewed ever or something. But she's really down to earth. She's so she researches on vulnerability and shame, but she's not afraid to just share her own stories. And she just is great to listen to and really genuine. So
That's really inspiring because
Yeah.
every time I want to be open or vulnerable, I always
Yes.
wonder, like, do people even care? And then that
Yeah.
stops me from doing it.
Right.
Right?
Mhm.
So that's just very admirable.
Yeah, definitely. I could talk about her. I won't though, because you've asked me to talk about other things. So
You could talk about it in open mic later.
I could. There you go.
Yeah.
Perfect.
What's the last course you've completed?
So I did some training recently. I did some this year and last year in something called schema therapy. So it's basically looking at the influence of unmet needs on children and how we learn to cope with that in helpful or unhelpful ways. So it's really fascinating. It's kind of complex, but it just is really good for lots and lots of presentations and fascinating. So yeah.
And is that something you now are finding that you prefer to other types of therapy?
Yeah, so I will use that a lot of times, not every time, but it's kind of if someone's struggling to, like if we're just focusing on what they're doing now and they're struggling to make changes, or they might understand rationally something but just still feel differently, then schema therapy is something we might look at to kind of look at the origins of that and how they're reacting now to something really that happened when they were younger. So
Right.
it's
I
really
might
interesting.
need that.
Okay, sure, done.
Yeah.
Maybe we could do that in open mic.
Yeah, maybe we could.
Sure.
All right. Now, moving on to the interview section, what you're really here for.
Yes.
How would you define personal development?
So I think personal development is really, it starts with self-awareness. So, we can't change anything about ourselves if we don't understand what's happening now. So looking at how we think, how we feel, why we do what we do, behavior, all of that stuff, you kind of have to start with that self-awareness. And once you have that, then you can think about trying to change it.
So, what do you think are the main challenges most people face when trying to pursue this personal development journey?
Yeah, I think a lot of people become a bit too focused on the outcomes. So, I want to get here. I want to get the certain place in my career, or I want to, reach a goal with my relationship or financially or whatever. They're kind of focused on this point in the future. Whereas I don't think personal development really has an end point. It's just happening all of the time. It's something we can work on no matter, where we're at. And I think people can get a bit stuck when it's all about, achieving this exact thing.
It's not about the destination, it's about the journey.
Yeah, cliche, but true. Definitely true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how would you define body image?
Yeah, so body image is, I guess, just how we feel about our bodies, or particularly how we look. So whether that's our size or our body shape or hair or whatever. Yeah.
And how does that relate to personal development?
Yeah, so I guess, we are our bodies. Like, we're not just our bodies. We obviously have feelings and, a mind and all of that. But our body is a big part of how we show up in the world, how we interact with people. And so I think if you have a really negative view of your body, it kind of ties into having a negative view of yourself. And that can really influence what you do or what you feel confident enough to do.
And I suppose that would affect your self-esteem as well.
Yeah.
So my next question was, how does body image affect our self-esteem, which you've already answered in the previous question. So maybe we can elaborate on that a bit.
Yeah, well, I think self-esteem is kind of how we feel about ourselves as a whole, and then body image is the body part of that. But I think if we have negative body image, then or negative self-esteem, it also shows up in how we treat ourselves. So, part of positive self-esteem is kind of looking after ourselves or doing things that care for our bodies, care for ourselves. And so if you've got low self-esteem or negative body image, you might not rest when you're tired, or you might not give yourself, healthy food or whatever, and that further limits what you're able to do. So I think it's all connected.
So what does having positive body image look like?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I think there's different views on that, actually. There's a little bit of a camp out there that's sort of pushing for body positivity, which kind of means, I always love my body, or I look fabulous no matter what I'm wearing, or those sorts of things. And I don't think that those are bad things, but I think it's maybe a little bit unrealistic. I think we don't have to love the way our body looks all of the time to have positive or healthy body image. We just need to accept our body, accept the way that we look, and don't start tying it to how worthy we are, or how lovable we are, I guess. So, you can accept something and care for it, whether you like it or don't, or, I might like it today, but not tomorrow, or whatever's happening. But I think positive body image is really accepting that this is the body that I have, and these are the things that it does for me that are good, and then caring for it as a result of that.
And how do you think media representation has influenced our perception of body image these days?
The media has a lot to do with it. Unfortunately, a lot of it is negative, really, I guess. The media portrays this view of what the ideal body type is, and kind of sets us up to think that if we don't match that, then there's something wrong with our bodies. And so things like social media, or magazines, but probably more social media these days, that put these ideal images up, can tend to make us feel bad comparatively. And the annoying thing about that is that a lot of those images, before they're even there's a lot of stuff that happens after the image is taken, but before the image is taken, generally celebrities have great lighting, they have makeup artists, they have hairdressers, they have all of this stuff to kind of make them look a certain way. And then once the image is taken, it can be changed, filtered, adjusted, whatever. And so we're comparing ourselves then to these images that they're not even real. And so you can end up just feeling awful about your own body, which is just natural. And if you took out all that other stuff of these celebrity pictures, it wouldn't be as different as you think it is.
That's a good point you make there, because celebrities also have the best personal trainers,
Yes.
have the best nutritionists.
Yeah, skincare, all of
skincare as
that.
well. Yeah, which is why, I did see, there's this meme that's circulating, that goes something like, they put a picture of their favorite celebrity or something like that, and they're like, this person is proof that, if you're a good person, then you don't age or something,
right?
Which I find so ridiculous.
I know.
Because it's that's clearly good skincare.
Yes.
I know plenty of people who are amazing at skin, not so amazing. I'm not to throw insults at some of my favorite people, but it's all down to skincare and diet as well, and genes.
And genes and a million other things, and it's just those things are typically not mentioned when you see an image of a model or a celebrity or whatever. It's just sort of taken for granted that this is just what they look like, but the rest of that's not often taken into account.
And do you think that cultural background might play a role in our perception of body image as well, apart from the media?
Yeah, I do think so. I mean, I probably wouldn't want to speak for other cultures, but I think, I mean, the Western ideal is fairly clear, and unfortunately, sort of spreading further around the world than it used to. But yeah, different cultures have different preferences or standards of beauty, and I think people tend to compare themselves to that.
Yeah, I can actually speak on that just
Okay.
because like I'm
Yeah.
from Singapore, which is an
Right.
Asian country,
Mm-hmm.
and most of us are East Asian, like ethnicity wise.
Yeah.
So the beauty standard there is like skinny, short,
Yeah.
very petite.
Yes.
And so I can never find my clothing sizes as well. So it's
Right.
just not even it doesn't stop at body image. It's like,
Yes.
okay, yeah, I've accepted my body, but now it's really hard to find clothing
Yeah,
that
the
fits
clothing
me.
companies need to accept your
Yeah,
body. I
yeah.
found that as well when I was in Thailand because I have really big feet. I'm quite tall as well.
Yeah.
So my feet are like
I'm
a
sorry I
size.
laughed.
No,
It's
no,
just that
that's
like I relate because
Oh,
I
do
have
you?
big feet as well. Yeah, like really wide.
Yeah, right. Well, my feet are size 9.5, which is about a 42. And they don't go
Yeah,
past 40
right.
in Thailand. And I remember going around the markets and I'd ask if they had bigger sizes and they'd look at my feet and say, too big. Like, okay. So
Yeah.
that's not helpful. But
Oh yeah, actually my grandmother would tell me my feet are so huge
okay.
because she grew up in China and then she moved to Singapore when she was really, really young, but she still retained that tradition of binding her feet. She didn't
Right.
bind her feet anymore, but she squeezed her feet into really,
Yes.
really small shoes.
Right. So small feet
Small,
were
small
perceived as
feet.
being
Yeah,
better.
yeah, back then.
It's
Now
such a
it's not
tough
so
one because you
much.
literally can't do
You
anything. I mean,
actually
maybe you can. Maybe you can bind your feet. Maybe I could bind my feet, but
yeah, it would hurt.
yeah.
So yeah, anything's possible. It's just like should it be done is the question,
Good question.
I guess.
Yeah.
So back to the interview.
Yeah.
What can we do to develop a more positive body image?
Yeah. I think there's a few things. I mean, I think any understanding that you have about some of these things that we're talking about when you're looking at an image of what you might perceive to be as, perfect body or desirable body, to look at it and consider the things that have changed about that image or the background. It's not just, oh, they were born that way, born beautiful, and I wasn't, or whatever it is, but that there's a whole system in place there to make them look that way. And also maybe looking at some of the intentions behind that. I mean, so often the images that we see of people's bodies, they're put there so that we feel bad about ourselves. Because if we don't feel bad about our bodies, why would we buy what they're trying to sell us? And so it actually, from a marketing perspective, it is an excellent strategy to make us all feel bad about the way that we look, because then we'll pay money to make the way that we look different or buy their product or their clothes or whatever. So I guess just being a bit savvy and curious and kind of looking at the context of those images is helpful. You can, you do have control about what you put in your feed as well. So who you follow, say in Instagram. And so it can be helpful to make sure that that is a little bit more representative of, natural, normal bodies, normal in quotation marks, because there's a whole range of that, but just making sure that it's not just filled with doctored images. I follow somebody, I can't actually think of her name, but I can get it for you, who will show the filtered image and then she'll show the unfiltered image.
Well, yeah, like I know a few influencers who do that now. Actually,
Yeah.
it's becoming a bit more popular, which is great.
It is.
It's amazing.
It is, and you just look at it and go, "Oh, that's kind of looks like me. Like that's fine. There's nothing wrong with me." So I think that's helpful as well, and including people of different shapes, different cultures, different sizes, different abilities. All of that can be helpful too.
And I think it also exposes the like how realistic the after picture is, but
Yes.
then you compare it to the before picture and you realize that it has been photoshopped or something, which helps you realize that maybe some things out there, they might look realistic, but don't believe everything.
They're really not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I said in the introduction that social media now has been more accepting than it was before to a wider range of bodies. What's your opinion on that?
I think definitely in some areas, yes. I think we've still got a way to go, and it still seems to be viewed as okay to criticize people who are putting their images up, even celebrities or models. It's like people think, well, I can criticize them because they're beautiful or because they're a celebrity or they're being paid or whatever. So I think that still happens. Maybe we're getting a bit more diverse with what's being shown, but there's still a lot of judgment, I think, whether people are saying it or not, or they're saying it in a different way. So I don't know. That's a hard one to know the answer to.
Yeah. Well, where would you like to see the media end up
In terms of body image?
in terms of body image? Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I mean, maybe just talking less about that and talking more about other things. I mean,
Yeah.
why do we have to make so many comments about people's body weight and size? And like, it's one part of them. It's not everything. And it seems to be something we can pick at, I think. And maybe that's what happens online as well, that if I'm feeling bad about my body and I see somebody else, I want to like stop feeling the way that I do, and so I pick at them. But it just keeps the whole thing going, so it doesn't really help.
It's also like, in a way, does how your body look like even matter? Like,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
seems like a very inconsequential thing to pick on
Yes.
and talk about so much.
Yeah. I mean, I think we can't deny it, and I think it's okay to feel, sometimes we might feel like I look really good today, and then other days we might feel like, oh, I don't really like the way that I look. Like, I don't think we have to never think about our bodies, but I just think in the scheme of things, if there was we're looking at the percentage of how much we take that into account, I think it just needs to get a little bit less, and the other stuff a little bit more.
Do you have any advice for listeners on how to curate their feeds?
Yeah.
For example, blocking or muting. Like, how do you even start going about that?
Yeah. So I think, again, starting with self-awareness. And it's hard online because we can kind of fall into this scrolling stupor, right? Where you're not even taking in anything anymore. So you want to try and access your thinking brain when you're looking through, and just check in with yourself about, well, how does what this person is posting, how does it make me feel? Is it making me, and what is it making me think? Is it making me think negative things about myself? Is it making me feel worse about my body? Is it making me want to do things that ultimately are not good for me? Like, I don't know, restrict or starve myself, or hurt myself, or whatever. But if it is inspiring, or if it is helping me to improve the quality of my life or become a kinder person, or, is it interesting to me? Like, it's just sort of doing a bit of an evaluation about the impact that following this particular person is having on me, and then making decisions based on that.
Yeah, that's some really, really good advice.
Yeah.
I'll definitely take that into account. My feed's currently pretty curated. It's
Yes.
just that I don't think it's where I want it to end. Like,
Sure.
I think I can push it further,
Yep.
if that makes sense. So yeah,
The challenge for all of
yeah,
us, I think.
it is a challenge, and sometimes we don't even think about how our feeds affect us.
Yeah.
And we don't even realize where all of this is coming from,
Yeah. And I think also making sure that you're not only looking to the media or online for your images of what a normal body looks like. Like, I was at the pool recently, and this might sound bad, but I was looking around at all of the bodies,
It does
right?
sound
It does
bad,
sound
yeah.
really bad. Not in like a creepy stalkerish way, but just in a general looking
Just
around the room.
like I have eyes and
Yes.
I can see things.
That's right. I wasn't kind of anyway. But what I remember thinking is they're just normal bodies. Like this is a room full of really normal bodies.
Yeah, I love when that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like I was going, oh my gosh, everybody here is, this size or looks like me or does like it's just really normal bodies. So I'm not suggesting that everybody listening to this go to a pool and stare at everybody. That would be bad advice. But I guess just make sure that social media or online is not the only place that you're getting your information about what a body looks like.
Yeah, essentially
that makes
go
sense.
out and touch grass or something.
Yeah.
Look at real
true.
people with
That's right.
real bodies.
Yeah, and look at your friends. I mean, that's another thing I often talk to people about is, you have this really critical view of your own body and you might think, well, I need to be skinnier, or I need to have bigger boobs or whatever it is. But nobody looks at their friends that way. Nobody is like, well, I don't like you because your boobs are too small. Do you know what like that's just your friend.
Yeah.
You wouldn't like them more if they were skinnier.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't like them more if they wore different makeup or whatever. And so it's not actually how we value people when we're looking outside of ourselves most of the time. And so we need to keep that into consideration as well.
Absolutely. Now I'm going to ask you some questions about how to apply whatever we've just talked about to our everyday life.
Sure.
So what is a practice that you do or would recommend for people to deal with body image issues?
Yes.
It could be like telling themselves something in the morning. I don't know, positive affirmations. I do stick that up on my my fridge, but like it's not like positive. It's just like, oh, you don't look that bad.
Yeah.
It's
well,
realistic.
That's the affirmation. You don't look that bad.
Yeah. You look kind of okay.
Yeah.
Looking.
Okay. That's really interesting because I was actually going to mention I guess the way that we talk to ourselves about our bodies. And I think what we're aiming for is acceptance, right? So again, not loving it all the time, but you might like your body sometimes. You don't want to hate your body all the time, but you accept that this is the body that you have. And so I wouldn't necessarily call it an affirmation, but just a reminder of your intention, which might be something like, I accept my body just as it is. Yeah, I accept my body just the way that it is. Because once we accept, it's ironic, but once we accept the way that it is, we're much more likely to then be able to do things to care for it and to do things that are going to make it, happy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think, focusing on that acceptance and maybe also just reminding yourself of what your body has done. My body got me out of bed. It got me walking around the city today. It, digests food. It is strong. All those sorts of things. Looking at what your body does for you, not just what it looks like.
That's really good advice, but I wonder what the challenges are that comes with this. For example, like trying to even start doing it or trying to convince yourself that you even believe it in the first place.
Yeah. So I guess it's setting your intention. So it might not be that I accept my body today, but I am working towards accepting my body. I want to accept my body the way that it is. I want to get to a place where I accept it. And the good thing, the helpful thing to know is that you can take action even if you are still struggling to believe it or not. So I can care for my body even if I'm still struggling to accept it. I can choose to do that. I can set my intention, my plan to do that. And to, just like you would care for a loved one or a child or a pet, you want good things for them. You want them to be happy. You want them to be rested and cared for and have energy. And so you can make choices to look after your body with this intention of caring for it, even if you're still struggling with the am I pretty or not, or whatever the question is. Does that make sense?
Yes, that totally does make sense.
Because, I mean, we don't always, in the nicest possible way, we don't always like our children, right? Or some days they're annoying, you know, we love them always.
I hope Aiden is not watching this.
That's right. Hi, Aiden, if you're listening, my son. We don't always like what they do, but we always want to care for them. We always want to be loving towards them. And so it's the same thing to aim for with your body, that even if how much you like it goes up and down or changes, we can still make choices that look after our bodies and go from there.
No, yeah, you're right. I actually, no, come to think of it, yeah, because I have a cat.
Okay, I have 2 cats. I love cats.
Right.
Yeah.
I love cats too, but sometimes,
Annoying.
sometimes there's like a moment or two in the day where I don't really like them.
Yes, exactly. They hairballs on the floor or whatever it is.
Yeah. So same thing with the body. Yeah. Yeah.
Some days you don't like it.
It's fine to not be constantly just positive about your body, because
I do think there's a bit of pressure actually in the current climate to be loving my body every moment of every day, as in liking my body every moment of every day. And I don't think that that's realistic. So, and I think aiming for that maybe becomes a bit overwhelming for people. But there's a concept of body neutrality, which is kind of accepting I have a body. You know,
I really like that term, because I do see a lot of body positivity accounts on social media and everything. And I just always I always kind of felt bad that I didn't feel that way. And I always like wondered what it'd be like to be on the other side.
Yes.
This is breaking my mind. This is blowing my mind, because like it's kind of like shattered that image for me, and realize that it's fine.
Yeah, I think that's the other thing with social media. People will look at a celebrity and how that celebrity looks and assume that that person must feel great about their body all of the time because they look like that, or that person must be happy every day. And so I need to look like that, and then I'll be happy every day, or then I'll love my body every day. But I would bet you all the money that I have, if I was to talk to any celebrity, and that includes models, you know, who are paid for the way that they look, they do not love their body every day. They don't like the way they look every day. But that's okay. Again, we don't. It's just rolling with it, but still trying to love ourselves and care for ourselves like you would for your cat or your kid or whoever.
So based on your experience, do you have any other recommendations of such practices to work towards this body neutrality?
Yeah. So I think figuring out what sorts of things help you feel good in your body is helpful. So, for example, I love dancing. Like listening to music and moving my body to the music. You know, it's just a really joyful, fun, relaxing, whatever thing to do that uses my body. I'm also a huge fan of reformer Pilates. So it's on a machine and it's really low impact, but I like the way that I feel when I do it. I like what it does to my body. It makes me feel really strong. It's helped me with headaches and, you know, muscle tension and all of that. And so it's a really positive thing for me to give my body, I suppose, and do with my body that helps me feel better about my body as well. And so it might be a little bit different for different people. I mean, I would never talk to people really about what I think they should be eating, because, I mean, I don't know and it depends. But generally people will have a sense of what sorts of foods or what sorts of practices help them feel ultimately good. Even something like alcohol, you know, it might feel a little bit good initially, but for some people they find if they're having too much, they end up, you know, it affects their concentration or their sleep, or they feel a bit sick or whatever. And so it's looking at what are the things that actually make my body feel good. So how do I care for it by doing more of those things? And that might be different for different people.
Yeah, I agree with the dancing part. I actually like, but the thing is, like, you don't have to be a good dancer to dance and feel connected to your body.
Yes.
Because I am not a good dancer. Like,
you don't
just
need to be.
can't really keep on beat at all. But it just, empowers you a bit.
Yes.
It makes you feel a bit more like this is your body.
That's right. It kind of connects you a little bit, and you can be present in your body with that.
Yeah.
And even certain clothes or whatever might make you feel that way. And so dressing for what feels good or gives you that little boost of confidence rather than how can I dress so that everybody else is going to think a certain way about me.
Yeah, I've actually been doing that more lately, and that's been really nice instead of, chasing trends and stuff like that, which is fine if that's what makes you feel connected to your body and if the trends suit you. But I think like figuring out, which is going to another whole different discussion here, but like personal style, that really helps you feel good about your body and finding things that you're that you feel like your body looks flattering in.
Yes.
Really, really helps, I think.
Yeah.
But you're the professional, so like...
I agree with everything you just said.
It's Krysta approved.
Yes, it is. Big stamp of approval. Absolutely.
All right, so now we have some questions from the audience.
Okay.
I think there's only like 2.
Sure.
So one of the questions is, how does a phenomenon like self-objectification occur, and how can we mitigate its negative impact on personal development?
Okay, so I think I'm understanding this correctly. I would say self-objectification, as in, I guess, making you the focus of everything.
Right. Kind of like objectifying yourself.
Yeah. And probably Western society, we do that. We're definitely trending even more towards that with things like selfies, and it becomes all about, the individual. And yeah, social media definitely kind of keeps all of that going. Or
good catalyst for that.
Or even like reality TV shows or whatever that just kind of have this big focus on the person. So how do we work with that? I guess, well, the opposite of that would be looking at bigger picture. It would be looking at community and relationships, and that it's not just about us as individuals. There's sort of a bigger picture. So I guess focusing on some of those things rather than just it's all, I have to look great today or else the world's not going to end. I mean, it's not. It might be about, just looking outside of yourself at other things, other people.
That makes a lot of sense, because I remember when I was younger, like 2 years ago.
Ages ago.
Yeah. And because I was on social media all the time and like posting about myself all the time.
Yeah. You wouldn't have been the only one, I'm sure.
But for some, like I felt so bad about myself all the time. And then I go and spend time with my friends and touch grass.
Yes.
Yes. And then all of a sudden it feels so much better.
Yeah.
So it sounds like a very generic answer or a generic solution that doesn't really sound like anything, but it works so well.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like that example. Yeah, it's just filling out the bigger picture, know. I mean, there's a great question, I don't know who said it, but, will this matter in 5 minutes, in 5 days, in 5 weeks, in 5 years? Like, will it matter that I have a big pimple today or something? No, probably not. And then just fleshing out, I'm more than just my looks. I'm also my family, my community, my, interests, my hobbies, my brain, my country, I could talk about the Matildas, like it's bigger than that. So I guess that stops the self-objectification.
You could talk about the Matildas in open mind. You could.
So many options.
So many options.
Yeah.
So body image concerns often begin from a young age due to media influences.
Yep.
How can parents and educators help children develop a healthy body image despite the external pressures?
Yes. So number 1, work on your own body image. That would absolutely be my answer, because children pick up on what you say and what you do, and it's awful. I'm a parent, right? So I constantly thinking about this. How's this? What's this modeling to my kids? But they pick up on the stuff that you're not even aware of. So if you're making negative comments about your body, or you're saying, "Oh, I better not have dessert because I need to fit into that dress," whatever, they're going to pull all of that in as the way that they should be looking at their own bodies. So I would definitely start with that, and then just again that idea of kind of broadening the picture, making sure that you're talking about things other than their bodies. I mean, you can say, "You look great," like that's fine. I'm not, you don't have to never talk about their bodies, but just make sure that that's not the only thing that you're talking about. I mean, don't say negative things if you can help it. And I would say don't talk about weight generally, because even if you say to somebody, "Oh, you've lost weight, you look great," we don't know why they've lost weight. They might have been sick and now they've got this affirmation for their body when actually it's not in a healthy state. So language is important, but, talk about other things as well. Talk about the things that they enjoy, things that they've done, not just the way that they look.
Right, that makes sense because they are impressionable and they absorb the environment.
Yeah.
So sometimes, I guess you do have to actually change your language.
Definitely.
Just for real.
Yeah.
Not just like put up a front because they will pick up on it.
That's right. And look, I don't think you need to block them from everything. I mean, you couldn't if you tried anyway, right? You can't make it so that your child never sees an image of a model, or like you're just not going to be able to do that. But you can have conversations about an ad or about an image that help them to start think about that bigger picture as well. Like, "Oh, why do you think, they've got this person holding up this, I don't know, energy drink? What are they trying to do here? Oh, they're trying to make it seem like if you have this energy drink, you're going to look like this or be worthy like that person." So help them kind of unpack those images when they come up, if they're open to it.
That's such good advice. I'm not looking to be a parent at all.
Okay.
But if
you have a cat though. So.
Yeah, the cat. Yeah. I do.
No fat shaming the cat.
Yeah, no.
Actually, we do make fat shaming songs about it. That's I'm admitting that. But I mean, I don't think that they understand.
I actually don't do that to my cat. I feel like, also, I don't know if this is the right time to confess this. I don't think it is, but I experienced some postpartum depression symptoms with having my cat.
Oh, really?
Very odd.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I have been actually treating him like he's my human child, and I have not been fat shaming him at all because I don't want him to think that.
Do you know what?
Fat.
I'm going to stop doing that to my cat. It's done in a loving way because it's so cute and
but
fluffy.
I reckon that you are more sane than me for being like, that's a cat.
Okay. Yeah.
They probably don't understand what I'm saying.
I don't think so.
And
it is fun to make songs.
Yeah, it is so fun to make songs. I do make songs about my cat being a chicken.
Really?
Because he's a ginger. He's a ginger, and he has fur that's like all fluffy in the right places that makes him look like a chicken.
Yes.
What are your cats?
I have two rag dolls. Do you know rag dolls?
Beautiful.
So they are absolutely enormous. They are really, really fluffy. They're older than my son, so they're Aiden's 13 and a half. They're 14 and a half. So that makes me sad because I'm like, I just want them to live forever. Yeah, but no, they're so beautiful. They're such a big part of the family.
Thank you so much for answering all my questions. You did so well.
Welcome.
Now, before we end off, we would like you to take the floor and talk about anything that you're passionate about.
Okay.
This is the open mic section.
All right.
So take it away, Krysta.
Well, this is actually not any of the things that we said that we might talk about, but I did mean to mention before that sometimes body image stuff or, eating issues or whatever are a little bit more complicated than I'm making them sound today. And so if if somebody has a particular mental health issue, it might be an eating disorder or it might be anxiety or whatever, then it's a little bit bigger and more complex than just the images that are portrayed in the media. And so I would never want to try and imply that it's as easy as just saying to yourself, I accept my body. Sometimes that's really, really hard. Sometimes the reasons that you haven't accepted your body go much deeper. And so I would always be encouraging somebody to go and talk to a professional about those things, because your body can sometimes become something that you're trying to control because other things in your life are out of control, or your body might be something that you are hurting because you don't have a good self-image, or you don't believe that you're lovable or whatever, and so it can become kind of a means of playing out some of those things. So I would just say, if that is true for anybody listening, to please not assume that it's just as simple as saying these things to yourself, but always go and try and get some help from a professional to explore those things a little bit more deeply. Yeah.
Thank you so
it
much,
okay?
Krysta. Yeah,
All right.
that's perfect. But did
Good.
you want to spend like maybe 2 minutes to talk about something?
Something else. I don't know.
I think it's okay, guys.
Is that okay?
Is that okay?
All right.
All right.
I did talk about my cats.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Krysta.
No
It was lovely
problem.
having you on the show today. If our
Okay.
listeners want to find out more about you and what you do,
Yes.
where can they go?
Yeah, I do have a website, which is KrystaKorsCounselling.com.
KrystaKorsCounselling.com.
Counselling.com. I can give you the
Nice ring to it.
Yeah. I am on Instagram, although I posted a lot during COVID. I kind of got all of my insight and wisdom out there, and then came out of lockdown and couldn't be bothered anymore. So I'm not really putting fresh content on Instagram, but you're welcome to have a look at what's there, or message me or whatever.
All right, that's perfect. We'll have the links to Krysta's social media and website in the show notes. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you so much, Krysta, for joining us, and we'll catch you in the next episode. You've been listening to the Self-Improvement Atlas, the Personal Science Insights podcast, produced by LMSL, the Life Management Science Labs. For more episodes like this from 10 different life management perspectives, search LMSL on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts, so you can get updated on everything we have to offer. We have a wide range of topics readily available for you to check out. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider rating our show, sharing it, and subscribing to our channel, as it helps us grow and bring you more quality resources. More of our work can be found on our website at pe.lmsl.net, where you can join our movement. I'm Stella. Thanks for tuning in.